Look at how you spend your workday. You sit down at your desk at 9 a.m. You open your laptop to write a massive, important report. But before you start, you think, I'll just check my email real quick. 30 minutes later, you are replying to messages. Then your phone buzzes with an Instagram notification. Then a coworker taps you on the shoulder to ask a quick question. By 5 p.m., you are completely exhausted. You feel like you worked incredibly hard. But when you look at that important report, the page is still blank. You spent 8 hours working, but you produced absolutely nothing of value. Welcome to the Book Vault. The essence of every book. Deep Work. Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World by computer science professor Cal Newport. Society has sold us a massive lie about productivity. We have been brainwashed to believe that being busy is the same thing as being productive. We believe that answering emails within 30 seconds and attending 6 Zoom meetings a day makes us valuable. Cal Newport shatters this illusion. He proves that the modern workplace has been hijacked by shallow, meaningless distractions. And in a world where everyone is distracted, the ability to focus with absolute, laser-like intensity has become the ultimate superpower of the 21st century. Over the next 3 sessions, we are going to completely rebuild your brain for elite-level focus. Chapter 1. The Deep Work Hypothesis. To understand the philosophy of Cal Newport, you must ruthlessly divide every single task you do during the day into one of 2 categories. There is no gray area. A task is either shallow or it is deep. Shallow work is defined as non-cognitively demanding, logistical-style tasks, often performed while distracted. Answering routine emails is shallow work. Attending status update meetings is shallow work. Organizing your digital folders, responding to Slack messages, and filling out expense reports, all shallow work. Here is the brutal reality. Test for shallow work. Could a smart college intern learn how to do this task within 2 weeks? If the answer is yes, the task is shallow. Shallow work does not create new value in the world. It is simply moving information around. And more importantly, shallow work is incredibly easy to replicate. If your entire job consists of answering emails and sitting in meetings, your job will eventually be outsourced to cheaper labor or completely automated by artificial intelligence. Deep work is defined as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their absolute limit. Writing a brilliant piece of software code is deep work. Designing a complex corporate tax strategy that saves a company millions of dollars is deep work. Writing a best-selling book is deep work. Deep work creates massive, undeniable new value. It improves your skills. And most importantly, deep work is incredibly hard to replicate. A college intern cannot do it. An AI cannot easily replace true, creative, elite-level deep work. This brings us to Cal Newport's core thesis, the deep work hypothesis. The hypothesis states, the ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare at exactly the same time it is becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. As a consequence, the few who cultivate this skill and make it the core of their working life will thrive. We are living in an economy that aggressively rewards deep work, but actively encourages shallow work. Our open office floor plans, instant messaging apps, and constant notifications are actively destroying our ability to go deep. If you spend 90% of your day doing shallow work, you are trading your future for the illusion of being busy. You are skimming the surface of your potential. Chapter 2. The Neurology of Focus. Why is deep work so exhausting? Why does sitting alone in a quiet room, focusing on a single complex spreadsheet for 2 hours, feel physically painful? In the beginning, to understand this, you must understand the actual biology of the human brain. You must understand how the brain learns and how the brain breaks. Whenever you try to learn a new, complex skill, whether it is financial modeling, playing the violin, or writing code, your brain fires a specific circuit of neurons. When you first try the skill, that neural circuit is like a muddy, bumpy dirt road in the jungle. The electrical signal travels very slowly, and you make a lot of mistakes. But neurologists have discovered a miraculous substance in the brain called myelin. Myelin is a layer of fatty tissue that wraps around these neural circuits, acting like electrical insulation. When you focus on a single, hard task with intense, unbroken concentration, your brain starts wrapping layer after layer of myelin around that specific circuit. The more myelin you wrap around the circuit, the faster and cleaner the electrical signal fires. You are literally paving the dirt road and turning it into a high-speed German Autobahn. But here is the catch: myelination only happens when you are in a state of absolute, undistracted focus. If you are trying to write a complex corporate report, but you have a YouTube video playing in the background, your brain is firing dozens of different, conflicting neural circuits at once. The brain gets confused. It does not wrap the myelin around the report writing circuit. You cannot master hard things while distracted. Multitasking is a biological impossibility for mastery. You might say to yourself, okay, I won't watch a video, but I'll just keep my email tab open so I can glance at it quickly every 10 minutes. It only takes 2 seconds. Cal Newport points to the terrifying research of Dr. Sophie Leroy, who discovered a phenomenon called attention residue. Imagine your brain has a finite amount of attention juice. You are focusing 100% of your attention on writing a project proposal. Task A. Suddenly, your email dings. You switch over to read the email, Task B, for just 10 seconds. Then you switch back to the project proposal, Task A. You think you transferred 100% of your attention back to the proposal. You did not. Dr. Leroy's research proves that a thick residue of your attention remains stuck on Task B. Your brain is still unconsciously processing the email you just read. You are now operating on Task A with only 60% of your cognitive capacity. If you check your email or your phone every 15 minutes, you are constantly layering your brain in thick, suffocating attention residue. Your IQ temporarily drops. Your ability to think deeply is paralyzed. This is why you feel completely exhausted by 3 p.m., even if you haven't done any heavy lifting. Your brain is exhausted from the constant, violent context switching. The rule is absolute. To perform deep work, you must disconnect completely. No quick glances. No open tabs. Zero context switching. Chapter 3. The Economy of Depth. We have diagnosed the biological reality of focus. But why does this matter for your bank account? Why does deep work translate into wealth? Cal Newport explains that we are entering a winner-take-all economy. 50 years ago, if you were the 100th best financial analyst in the world, you could get a great job in your local town, because companies only had access to local talent. Today, because of globalization and remote work, a company in New York can hire the absolute number 1 best financial analyst in the world, living in London for the exact same cost. When distance is no longer a barrier, the market disproportionately rewards the absolute best and aggressively punishes the average. In this hyper-competitive, AI-driven future, Newport identifies 3 specific groups of people who will accumulate the vast majority of the wealth. 1. The high-skilled workers, those who can work flawlessly and creatively with complex machines, artificial intelligence, and advanced technology. 2. The superstars, the absolute best in their specific field, the top 1% of programmers, writers, marketers, or managers. 3. The owners, those with access to capital who can invest in the new technologies. Unless you inherited millions of dollars to be an owner, your only path to massive success is to become a high-skilled worker or a superstar. How do you become a superstar? You must cultivate 2 core abilities. Core ability 1. The ability to quickly master hard things. Technology changes every 6 months. If you cannot rapidly learn complex new software, new economic models, or new programming languages, you will be left behind. And as we learned, rapidly learning hard things requires myelination, which requires deep work. A core ability 2. The ability to produce at an elite level in terms of both quality and speed. You cannot just learn the skill. You must produce the result fast and flawlessly. Neither of these core abilities can be achieved if your life is dominated by shallow work. You cannot become an elite corporate manager by being the fastest person to reply to Slack messages. You cannot build a $1 million YouTube channel by spending 6 hours a day scrolling through Twitter. The people who win the new economy will be the people who retreat into their deep work caves, shut out the noise of the world, and apply relentless, unbroken focus to mastering complex skills and producing undeniable value. If you do not produce, you will not thrive. Chapter 4. The 4 Philosophies of Deep Work Scheduling. You cannot simply declare, I am going to start doing deep work, without a strategy. If you try to force deep work into a schedule that is not designed for it, your willpower will instantly collapse. Cal Newport analyzed the greatest deep workers in history, from Carl Jung to Jerry Seinfeld, and identified 4 distinct philosophies for integrating depth into your life. You must choose the one that fits your specific career. This is the most extreme philosophy. The monastic approach involves maximizing deep work by eliminating or radically minimizing all shallow work. Sci-fi author Neil Stephenson uses this philosophy. He does not have an email address. He does not use social media. He makes himself completely unreachable. He isolates himself like a monk so he can write brilliant, 1,000-page novels. Reality check. For 99% of people listening to this masterclass, the monastic philosophy is impossible. If you are a manager, an executive, or a student, you cannot simply vanish from the world. You will be fired. If you cannot be a monk all the time, can you be a monk some of the time? The bimodal philosophy divides your time into 2 distinct modes, deep and shallow. For example, you might dedicate Monday through Wednesday entirely to deep work. You lock your door, put an autoresponder on your email, and vanish into your projects. Then, on Thursday and Friday, you enter the shallow mode. You take all your meetings, answer all your emails, and do the logistical work. Famous psychologist Carl Jung used this. He maintained a busy clinical practice in Zurich, but he built a stone tower in the woods. Every few weeks, he would retreat to his tower, lock himself inside, and do the deep work that revolutionized human psychology. This is the most practical philosophy for the modern corporate worker. The rhythmic philosophy argues that the easiest way to start deep work sessions is to transform them into a simple, unbreakable daily habit. You generate a rhythm. Instead of taking 3 days off, you block out the exact same 90-minute window every single morning. Say, from 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. Comedian Jerry Seinfeld used the rhythmic philosophy to write his jokes. He had a massive calendar on his wall. Every day he wrote for a specific amount of time, he put a giant red X over that day. After a few days, he had a chain. His only rule was, don't break the chain. By doing the deep work at the exact same time every single day, you completely remove the need to use willpower. The decision is already made. This is the most advanced, difficult philosophy. Journalists are trained to write massive, complex articles on absolute deadlines. They cannot wait for inspiration. The journalistic philosophy involves fitting deep work into your schedule whenever you have a free moment. If a meeting is canceled and you suddenly have 45 minutes free, you instantly drop into a deep work state. Walter Isaacson, the legendary biographer of Steve Jobs, wrote his massive books using this method. While his friends were relaxing on the patio during a weekend getaway, Isaacson would vanish into the guest room for 30 minutes, write furiously, and then return to the patio. Warning: do not attempt the journalistic philosophy if you are a beginner. It requires supreme cognitive agility to instantly switch from a distracted state to a state of absolute depth. Your brain is not trained for that yet. Chapter 5. The Ritual and the Grand Gesture. You have chosen your philosophy. You have blocked out 90 minutes on your calendar. But when the clock strikes 6:30 a.m., and it is time to do the deep work, your brain is going to fight you. Your brain will say, I'm tired. I just want to check my email for 5 minutes first. To overcome this friction, you cannot rely on willpower. You must build a deep work ritual. Great minds do not just sit down and hope for the best. They have highly specific, almost superstitious rituals that signal to their brain. The shallow world is gone. We are going deep. To build a bulletproof ritual, you must answer 3 questions. 1. Where will you work and for how long? You need a location that is strictly associated with depth. It could be a specific quiet room in your house, or a specific desk at the library. You must also define the exact time limit. I am going to sit at this desk from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. 2. How will you work once you start to work? You need rules. Will your phone be in another room? Will your internet router be unplugged? Will you have a specific metric, like writing 500 words before you are allowed to stand up? 3. How will you support your work? Deep work drains your brain's glucose. You need to support the machine. Will you start with a specific cup of high-quality coffee? Will you take a brisk 10-minute walk beforehand to clear your head? When you execute this exact ritual every single day, it acts as a psychological trigger. The coffee, the specific desk, and the locked door automatically put your brain into the correct gear. Sometimes, the resistance to deep work is so massive that a simple ritual is not enough. You need to hack your own psychology. You need to use a grand gesture. A grand gesture involves leveraging a radical change to your normal environment, coupled with a significant investment of effort or money, to signal to your brain the absolute importance of the task. When J.K. Rowling was writing the final Harry Potter book, she was struggling with massive distractions at home. She couldn't focus, so she used a grand gesture. She checked into a suite at the Balmoral Hotel in Edinburgh, Scotland, one of the most expensive, luxurious hotels in the city. She paid thousands of dollars a night just to have a quiet desk. Did the desk at the hotel possess magical writing powers? No. But the psychological impact of spending that much money and being in that grand environment sent a massive biological signal to her brain. The brain says, "We are spending a fortune to be here. This work must be incredibly important. We cannot waste this time scrolling on our phone." Bill Gates used to isolate himself in a cabin in the woods for think weeks. You do not need to spend thousands of dollars at a luxury hotel, but you can buy a premium coffee, rent a beautiful co-working space for the day, or travel to a completely different city just to write your business plan. When you elevate the environment, you elevate the depth of the work. Chapter 6. Embracing boredom. We arrive at the most difficult psychological pill to swallow in the entire book. People read Deep Work and they think, okay, I will schedule 90 minutes of focus tomorrow morning. They sit down, they turn off their phone, and within 4 minutes, they feel an unbearable, agonizing physical anxiety in their chest. They feel an overwhelming biological urge to check an app, open a tab, or look at a screen. They fail the deep work session and they wonder why. Here is the brutal truth. Focus is not a switch you can just turn on. Focus is a muscle. If you have spent the last 5 years feeding your brain constant, rapid-fire dopamine hits from social media, text messages, and YouTube videos, your brain has literally rewired itself to crave distraction. If your brain is addicted to novelty, it will violently reject the boring, silent, intense state of deep work. You cannot expect to be a cognitive elite during your 90-minute deep work block if you spend the other 22 hours of your day acting like a distracted dopamine addict. To master deep work, you must aggressively train your brain to embrace boredom. Look at your behavior when you are forced to wait. When you are standing in line at the grocery store, when you are sitting at a red light, or when you are waiting for a friend at a restaurant. What do? If you are like 99% of modern humans, the exact second you feel a hint of boredom, you instinctively pull your smartphone out of your pocket. You cannot tolerate 30 seconds of silence. Every time you pull out your phone to avoid boredom, you are training your brain's neural pathways that boredom is a crisis that must be immediately medicated with distraction. You are destroying your brain's tolerance for lack of stimuli. Deep work is inherently lacking in novel stimuli. Writing a report is boring. Staring at a complex math equation is boring. If you have destroyed your tolerance for boredom, you have destroyed your tolerance for boredom, you have destroyed your ability to do deep work. How do we fix the muscle? The average person tries to take breaks from distraction. They say, I am going to work for an hour, and I will force myself not to look at the internet. Cal Newport says this is entirely backward. You should not schedule breaks from distraction. You must schedule breaks from focus. You must decide in advance exactly when you are allowed to use the internet. Say to yourself, it is 9 a.m. I am not allowed to use the internet until 10 a.m. During that hour, you might hit a roadblock in your work. You might feel incredibly bored. You might have an overwhelming urge to look up a quick fact online. Do not do it. You must sit there with the boredom. You must experience the discomfort. You must force your brain to tolerate the silence until 10 a.m. arrives. By forcing yourself to wait, you are performing heavy cognitive weightlifting. You are rebuilding the neural pathways of discipline. To take this training to the elite level, Newport introduces productive meditation. Take a period of time when your body is occupied physically, but not mentally, like walking the dog, taking a shower, or driving your commute. Give your brain one single, well-defined professional problem to solve. How am I going to structure the opening of my massive presentation? As you walk, focus 100% of your attention on that single problem. Within 2 minutes, your brain will try to escape. It will start thinking about what you are going to eat for dinner or an argument you had yesterday. The exact moment you notice your attention drifting, you must forcefully, aggressively pull your attention back to the professional problem. It will be exhausting. You will have to pull your attention back 50 times during a 20-minute walk. But every time you pull your attention back, you are doing a push-up for your brain. You are strengthening the precise neurological muscle required to sustain deep work. You are teaching your mind that you are the master, and it must obey your commands. Chapter 7. Quit social media. If you tell the average modern worker that they need to quit social media to achieve greatness, they will look at you like you are insane. They will instantly defend their apps. They will say, "But I use LinkedIn to network with clients. I use Twitter to read the news. I use Instagram to stay in touch with my college friends. These tools offer a benefit." Cal Newport calls this the any-benefit approach to network tool selection. The any-benefit approach states that if a tool offers any possible benefit, or if you might miss out on any possible connection by not using it, then you are completely justified in using it. This is a terrible, highly destructive way to evaluate technology. Why? Because every single tool in the world offers some benefit. Imagine a master carpenter building a beautiful, custom mahogany dining table. Someone walks into his workshop and hands him a cheap, plastic wrench. If the carpenter uses the any-benefit approach, he would say, "Well, I guess I could use this wrench to bang a nail in if I lose my hammer. I'll keep it on my workbench." Before long, his workbench is cluttered with hundreds of useless, cheap tools. He can no longer find his precision instruments. The quality of his table is destroyed. To perform deep work, you must adopt the craftsman approach to tool selection. The craftsman approach states, identify the core factors that determine success and happiness in your professional and personal life. Adopt a tool only if its positive impacts on these factors substantially outweigh its negative impacts. Let's apply this to a corporate finance manager. What are the core factors of success for a finance manager? 1. Analyzing complex corporate tax structures. 2. Producing flawless predictive models. 3. Communicating elite strategy to the executive board. Now, evaluate Facebook or Instagram against those core factors. Does scrolling through Instagram substantially improve your ability to build a predictive financial model? Absolutely not. In fact, the negative impacts, the draining of your willpower, the fragmentation of your attention, the addictive dopamine loops, massively outweigh any minor networking benefit the app provides. The master craftsman throws the plastic wrench in the garbage. If you are terrified of deleting your apps, Newport suggests a simple experiment. Do not announce that you are leaving. Do not post a dramatic goodbye status. Just delete the apps from your phone for exactly 30 days. After 30 days, ask yourself 2 brutal questions. 1. Would the last 30 days have been notably better if I had been able to use this network? 2. Did people care that I wasn't using it? For 99% of people, the answer to both questions is no. The world did not end. Your true friends still texted you. Your career did not collapse. The only thing that changed was that you suddenly gained 2 extra hours of silence every single day. Stop handing over the most valuable asset in the modern economy, your focused attention, to a tech conglomerate in exchange for a few artificial likes. Be a craftsman. Select your tools ruthlessly. Chapter 8. Drain the shallows. You have cleared out social media, but you still have to survive in a corporate environment. You cannot eliminate shallow work entirely. You still have to answer emails, file expense reports, and attend meetings. If you refuse to do these things, you will be fired. The The goal is not to eliminate shallow work. The goal is to drain the shallows. You must contain the shallow tasks so they do not bleed into your deep work blocks. The most effective weapon against the shallows is time blocking. If you leave your day open and unstructured, the shallows will expand to fill every available second. At the beginning of every work, you must take out a piece of paper and divide your entire day into blocks. Schedule every single minute. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Deep work, financial model. 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Process emails. 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Strategy meeting. When you schedule your day this aggressively, you realize exactly how much time you are wasting. Will your schedule blow up? Yes. Emergencies happen. When the schedule breaks, you simply cross it out, draw a new block, and reschedule the rest of the day. The goal is not perfection. The goal is intention. You must always know exactly what you are supposed to be doing at any given minute. The greatest source of shallow work is the ping-pong email chain. Someone emails you, "Hey, we need to discuss the quarterly report. When are you free?" You reply, "I'm free tomorrow afternoon." They reply, "I have a meeting at 2 o'clock. How about 3 o'clock?" You reply, 3 o'clock works. Call or Zoom. You just generated 4 separate emails for separate context switches and a massive amount of attention residue just to schedule a basic conversation. Newport demands that you use the process-centric reply. When you receive an email, do not just reply with the first thought that comes to mind. Ask yourself, what is the project represented by this email, and what is the most efficient step I can take to bring this project to a successful conclusion? When someone emails you to discuss the report, you reply with absolute closure. "I agree, we need to discuss the report. I am free tomorrow at 1 p.m. or 3 p.m. If either of those work, please send a calendar invite with a Zoom link. If neither works, please suggest 2 times for Thursday and I will make it happen. Please also review the attached PDF before the call so we can finalize the budget on the spot." Boom. The loop is closed. You did the heavy cognitive lifting up front, completely eliminating the need for 5 more shallow emails. Make yourself harder to reach. Make the people emailing you do more work. Protect your inbox like a vault. Chapter 9. The 4 Disciplines of Execution. We arrive at the final master-level strategy of the entire book. You have the philosophy, you have the schedule, you have drained the shallows. But how do you ensure that your deep work actually produces real-world, elite results? Cal Newport turns to one of the most famous business frameworks in the world, the 4 Disciplines of Execution, 4DX. Originally developed by Clayton Christensen and his consulting team, Newport adapts these 4 disciplines specifically for the cognitive elite. If you want to guarantee success, you must execute these 4 disciplines flawlessly. 1. Focus on the wildly important. The law of the WIG. You cannot have 15 goals. If you have 15 goals, you have no goals. The more you try to do, the less you actually accomplish. You must identify 1 or 2 wildly important goals, WIGs, that will return massive, outsized value to your career. If you are an academic, your WIG is publishing 3 peer-reviewed papers. If you are an entrepreneur, your WIG is launching your flagship product. Say no to everything else. 2. Act on the lead measures. Lead versus lag measures. This is the secret weapon of the elite. A lag measure is the ultimate result you are trying to achieve, e.g., publishing a book, increasing revenue by 20%. The problem with lag measures is that by the time you measure them, the performance that drove them is already in the past. You cannot change them. A lead measure is the behavior that will predict success. In deep work, your lead measure is incredibly simple. The exact number of hours you spent in a state of deep, unbroken focus. You cannot control if a publisher buys your book, but you have absolute control over whether you spent 15 hours doing deep work this week. Manage the lead, and the lag will take care of itself. 3. Keep a compelling scoreboard. The psychological game. People play differently when they are keeping score. You must create a massive physical scoreboard in your workspace. Do not use an app on your phone. Put a whiteboard on your wall. Every time you complete 1 hour of deep work, make a massive, satisfying tally mark on the board. When you see the physical tally marks accumulating, you trigger a biological dopamine loop. It turns the agony of deep work into a highly addictive game of mastery. Create a cadence of accountability. The autopsy. You must hold a weekly review. Every Friday afternoon, sit down with your scoreboard. Did you hit your target for deep work hours? What caused you to fail? Was it a surprise meeting? Was it a lack of sleep? Analyze the data, confront your failures without ego, and immediately build a plan to optimize the upcoming week. Look closely at discipline number 2. If you only take one concept away from this entire masterclass, it must be the difference between lag and lead measures. The amateur obsesses over the lag measure. The amateur stares at the scale, praying they lost weight. The amateur stares at their bank account, praying it goes up. They are emotionally crushed when the numbers don't move because they are staring at the past. The professional completely ignores the scale. The professional obsesses entirely over the lead measure. Did I train for 45 minutes today? Did I eat 1,800 calories today? Did I do 2 hours of deep work today? The professional knows that if they execute the lead measure flawlessly, the lag measure is a mathematical inevitability. Deep work hours are your lead measure. Guard them with your life. Track them on your scoreboard. When you accumulate enough tally marks on that whiteboard, the promotion, the wealth, and the mastery are mathematically guaranteed to follow. Conclusion. The deep life. You have reached the end of the methodology. Look at the psychological and architectural fortress you have constructed over these 3 masterclass sessions. You are no longer a victim of the distracted world. You do not confuse busyness with productivity. You know the biological reality of myelination and the toxic poison of attention residue. You know that the modern winner-take-all economy disproportionately rewards the superstar, the individual who can master hard things rapidly and produce at an elite level. You have chosen your deep work philosophy. You have built bulletproof rituals to trigger your concentration. And you have ruthlessly trained your brain to embrace boredom, treating every silent moment in a grocery store line as an opportunity to perform cognitive weightlifting. And you are now armed for execution. You have abandoned the any benefit fallacy, treating your social media and digital tools like a master craftsman. You know how to drain the shallows by time-blocking your day and killing ping-pong emails. And you have locked your career into the unstoppable rhythm of the 4 disciplines of execution, shifting your entire focus away from the results and entirely onto the lead measure of deep work hours. We live in an era where everyone is connected, everyone is loud, and everyone is skimming the surface. The masses are desperately trying to build a career by scrolling, tapping, and multitasking their way to the top. They are building their houses on sand. Cal Newport has handed you the ultimate, devastating, beautiful truth. A deep life is not just economically lucrative. It is a life of profound meaning. When you shut out the noise of the world, sit alone in a quiet room, and push your cognitive capabilities to their absolute limit to create something of true value, you experience a state of psychological flow that the distracted masses will never, ever understand. Depth creates wealth, yes, but depth also creates peace.